having the hearing loss and been having the tinnitus, how does it impact your communication, um, particularly with your family?
Um, well, I've got quite a loud family. And when they get started, they get really going. So for me, it's just, you go through many days where you get that real expression from their faces as to frustration with you when you haven't got your hearing aids in and you're asking them to repeat themselves and or you're not responding in the way they expect because you clearly haven't heard clearly what they were saying, and so you're kind of making a best guess as to what they were trying to communicate with you. So in terms of just interacting with them, we have teenagers, very energetic teenagers, and so their frustration levels can reach highs very quickly. So it does certainly help make sure I'm hearing what they're saying and responding appropriately. So it tends to make home living a lot more peaceful.
Right. And your wife is probably, because she works in the hearing care world, she's probably extremely patient with you.
I don't know. Is she?
Welcome back to Hear Me Out with Belinda. Have you ever had that client that just doesn't want to listen to your advice? Well, then today's episode is for you. I'm in studio with my most difficult client, aka my husband, Sean. Welcome, Sean.
Hi, B.
Thank you for coming into the studio with me today.
You're most welcome.
Let's start with your hearing healthcare needs. What started off your journey?
From my perspective, my journey started when I developed a blocked salivary duct, which then turned into an infected salivary gland. And on a trip to Vancouver, descending from heights, I had excruciating pain in the whole ear region, if you will. And then after that, I developed something called tinnitus. I have a high pitched whistling in my ears. And
Yeah.
that was one of the first things that started happening to me.
Yeah, and I think just to expand on that was a very difficult time because you ended up having surgery. Did you to remove your whole salivary
Yeah.
gland, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, 2 trips to an ENT when I eventually got there didn't get the stone out of the duct. I actually landed up fishing it out myself at home. After the second visit, the wound was still open intentionally. The saliva gland never actually stopped with the infection. So I ended up going back and the ENT landed up removing the gland.
And then you've had the tinnitus since then.
Yeah, the tinnitus has been around ever since. I
Then.
say high pitched in the ears pretty much all the time.
Yeah, and so for our viewers out there that are just tuning in, just to let them know that tinnitus is the definition of tinnitus is when you're hearing a sound like a buzzing or a hissing in the absence of an external sound. Um, you've always been a little bit sound sensitive, though, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I tend to prefer quiet places and noisy restaurants, etc. Especially with other things that are going on, obviously with the tinnitus, etc. And the high frequency loss. I tend to try and shy away from them. I don't like those places. But based on my job, I often have to be in those noisy restaurants, so I don't really have a choice a lot of the time. But yeah, I prefer the quiet for sure. I have a couple of teenagers, obviously, we do, and they can be quite loud at times as well. So I'm often asking them to turn the volume down.
That's right. But sometimes they're very excited and they want to just share with us what's happening. Actually, I remember in the car a couple of road trips we would do, and you'd put earplugs in your ears because you couldn't handle the noise, which really wasn't the right thing to do at the time. Um, but I do remember your sound sensitivity as well.
Yeah, I call it sound aversion.
And then you've also recently had a diagnosis, recently mean the last few years, where you've had a diagnosis of a treatable high frequency hearing loss.
Yes, which creates an interesting combination when you have tinnitus, which in my case, it sounds like a high pitched whistle. I believe it's probably masking some of the sounds I need to hear from predominantly speech so that I can understand people better. And so in the workplace, there's times where I have to process the blanks is what I call it. So certain words are very similar, and if certain parts of the sound aren't there, you have to kind of make a best guess as to what you're hearing and process. So to my mind, you get towards the end of the day, your mental fatigue levels are increased for sure because you're trying to process that the whole time. Thankfully, though, there is a cure, there is a solution, if you will. Um, and obviously, we here to talk about hearing aids to some extent.
That's right, because we've been, because of the work that I do, we've had access to several different styles and manufacturers, and we've been playing around for almost, I'm going to say 24 months. It's been almost 2 years that we started this journey together to try. I think the primary goal for me was treating your tinnitus and hyperacusis. And then that sort of bled into a little bit of treating the hearing loss as well, because you're struggling to hear in certain situations, right? And before we get to what you're currently wearing and the excitement about them, we probably need to let some of our viewers know as why you're my most difficult client, right? So going back to the journey of all the different hearing aids that you've worn and the technology and all the things we can do with it, and how you just didn't follow my advice.
Well, for anyone who's known us for as long as what we've been together, they will know that our personalities are very different. Your cousins a very long time ago identified that you tend to be the fire and I tend to be the ice. And so we do, just by nature, we tend to clash at times. So that's one aspect. You probably have some views, but I tend to be obviously very comfortable as well. So I am comfortable to the point that I don't mind telling you when I don't like something, when something is not working to expectations. And then when you combine that to me being a bit persnickety, I get a bit kind of picky, and even one tiny thing, can get me going in the wrong direction. So I'm not afraid to let you know when I'm not happy with something.
That's right. We have that recorded now. That admittance. That's fantastic.
Yes, of course. Evidence, right? Right.
So just to touch on a little bit of the tinnitus, right, on the journey. So just bringing it back for some of our clients. So tinnitus is heard in our auditory cortex, right? So because it is a perception of sound, and then it sets off our limbic system, which is our sort of primal response, our primal emotion to things, which then goes into the part of the brain, our thalamus, which then focuses on things. So if we can disrupt the tinnitus at any one of those points within our brain, we can have success with managing the tinnitus. So whether it's a sound therapy by presenting another sound or calming our limbic system, with something called belly breathing or box breathing. Have you heard of box breathing?
I've heard of belly breathing, but I haven't heard box breathing. What's box breathing?
So I guess belly breathing is what we originally learned with one of our kids, trying to, calm the anxiety where you're filling up that balloon in your tummy. But I guess box breathing is just the adult version of it, where you're counting in for a count of 4, holding for a count of 4, breathing out for a count of 4, and then holding for a count of 4. So it's just when you're in any type of sort of stressful environment, or you're feeling anxious, or your tinnitus is spiking, then you can do that because nobody can see, right? Nobody can see that you're doing it. So it's a very private way to control your own sort of emotion at that time. Do you ever use that when you're having like a tinnitus attack or feeling frustrated at work?
I can't say I have, actually. And now you're going to probably claim to have told me about this before, right?
Well, we have had several conversations about it, but once again, going back to, why you don't always listen to me, but going back to I'm the spouse. I mean, I think there's in the medical field, like actual medical doctors, they're not allowed to treat family. And I think this is probably the reason why. Why it is they don't necessarily listen to each other. They think they know. Like, I think I know what you want, so I don't necessarily ask the question. I just make an assumption, and that's not necessarily what you're actually thinking as well, or the help that you're looking for.
Yes.
Right? Oh.
Yes. And now you've got this recorded for future use as well, don't you?
I do. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your hearing aids. It's been a long journey, and I'm very excited that we have something that actually works for you now, because there was a little bit of when we had what we call the receiver in the canals, where it would sit behind with the little wire coming in, which is, a very common type of hearing aid. Being a male in your age group, you just didn't want that.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, whether we like it or not, society does still tend to have stigma, and people see, and even if they don't really judge you, sometimes you think they are, you feel like they are, and so it obviously impacts your frame of mind and impacts your willingness to have those devices, which you really should because they really do help. I can say that without any shadow of a doubt. I've listened to musicians and bands that I grew up listening to, and in the recent couple of years, even with some of the units I was trying before, as well as the ones I wear today, you suddenly hear instruments that you forgot were part of that composition, and it literally blows your mind when you're suddenly like, oh my gosh, I did not realize that instrument was part of that song. So there are definitely the benefits. In terms of the stigma, it's not only that. The behind the ears, I felt at times, you didn't feel secure that they were going to be there during activities like pickleball or other physical activities. Um, you know, one wrong sharp movement in the wrong direction, and the thing could go flying off the top of your ear. So the inner ear was always of appeal to me, but many of the manufacturers, wouldn't custom build them. And so they were slightly uncomfortable. And, when you have to wear these things for extended periods of time and they're pushing on the walls of your canals, etc., they can become fairly uncomfortable and sore. And so then you you got to really get used to and comfortable with these things and wear them for durations. And the minute you start, relieving that pain by taking them out, well, the result is that you're not getting all the benefits. And it can become a very slippery slope very quickly. And you stop wearing them and you become comfortable back just dealing with your lack of hearing or whatever the other challenges are in terms of tinnitus and things like that. So, yeah, I'm really happy with what I got today. They're custom fitted, custom molded, and do an incredible job. The quality of sound that comes out of these things, even when you're streaming audio, streaming music, it's phenomenal. So I'm pretty sure they're just as good, if not better, than all of the modern AirPods, which is the other benefit now. Sometimes when people do notice them, they might even just be thinking they're a pod that you've got in your ear, right? Which is what all the younger folks are wearing. So there's that benefit too. But for the most part, they are hidden, and people don't even realize when I'm on a phone call. I'm streaming from Bluetooth devices from my phone, my PC, on video calls, and I'll often have colleagues walk up to me because I work in an open plan environment, and they don't realize I'm on a phone call, and they want to start talking at me, and I have to kind of make the whole on the hand signal, and they still don't get it off, and they're like, well, what is he on about? Most of them are wearing over the ear big earphones and whatnot, and I have the benefit of being able to take those calls, make those calls on my hearing aids.
Right. And I think that's been part of the journey, is waiting for that custom product that is in the ear that has classic Bluetooth, because that's really what you needed to pair with your phone. I just want to go back a little bit to your comment on the receiver in the canals and playing pickleball and them flying off your ears. If you had listened to me and had come into the clinic and allowed me to make sure there was a proper fitting, they would never come off your ears when you played pickleball. But I'll just let that lie there and focus on the positives. So we have
It doesn't
something
sound like you're letting it lie there.
that
You
you
want more
have
video evidence.
that you have something that is working for you. So I know that you like the coolness of them because you can actually see little parts of the hearing aid.
Yeah. I mean, they go in and out of the ear really quickly and easily, which has been really cool. But I specifically chose these for the transparent inner piece because you can see the electronics, so it has that cool feeling. I'd love them to make the transparency on the outside as well. And the LED, I think it would be kind of funky if the LED went off while you're on a call, because then you'd almost have the on-air effect. I would say that they should make that optional and, give the user the opportunity via their phone to switch that on and off, because some people won't like it. But for me, these are really cool. In and out of the air, really quick and easy. Easy to clean as well, because whether we like it or not, our ears do produce wax. So yeah, no lies. there is some wax that will develop, but it's very easy to clean. And yeah, they fit
Yeah.
really well.
That's awesome. So it means that your hearing care professional took a good impression to have those made for you.
Well, she's had lots of practice, starting on me as a guinea pig when she went to school. What was that? How many years?
It was when I first went to school, I think, oh my gosh, 16 and a half years ago now, because I've been qualified for almost 15. But I just wanted to touch on that the product you're wearing, in case anybody else is looking at, it is the Phonak Virto, the new Infinios. And so, yeah, it's great for your demographic, like I said, for males where, like you said, where there is sometimes you feel that stigma when you are out in the workplace with it. So it is a great product.
It is, but why for males? Ladies won't like them?
Well, for ladies, but I think with ladies, a lot of the time we have longer hair, and so we can hide things a bit better. Definitely, like I have the same ones, as you know, I use them as my sort of AirPods when I'm listening to podcasts. I don't have a hearing loss, but I do use mine um, to stream music and podcasts and stuff when, walking the dog together and that type of thing. Um, it is a great option for ladies. But yeah, ladies, like I said, I don't think especially if they have longer hair, they're not necessarily as impacted with having something behind the ear as in the ear as what a male is when they have shorter hair.
Take your word on that.
Yeah. All right, Sean, is there anything else you wanted to share about your hearing healthcare in your journey?
No, I guess maybe I'll just touch on that. I'd encourage folks out there that if you're holding back, when your family's been moaning at you about you asking them to repeat themselves, when you find that maybe you're at work struggling and you'll know it, you're struggling to hear certain words, be mindful of the fact that you're having to process. So you're adding to your mental fatigue. Don't hesitate. Really find a good practitioner to assist you. Results will vary, so have a look around. But you need that person that will consult with you and will help you with your specific requirements. The generic is, in my opinion, and not a good approach. You need someone who'll spend time with you. And I've obviously been extremely lucky that I have easy access to someone. And, my journey is testing different things has been probably 2-3 years now to find what I was looking for. But it doesn't have to take that long. It's just because I'm a bit picky and I had the luxury of being able to be a pain in your ass.
Yeah, yeah, that is the word, isn't it? But yeah, I mean, and along the way, to be fair to the other products and things, there were some really great successes with them. We just had a bit of fun working together and trying out a whole bunch of different things. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming into the studio with me today. It was fun recording, and I look forward to actually watching the podcast with you.
Yep. See you there.